Welcome back. What you should have just done is attempted, first you have to write this yourself, test it out, make sure it works, run it in the console. Once you get it working, then I told you to try and transition this from using callbacks to using promises. Now, who knows if you were able to get that to work or not, but let's go through it together right now. There's a siren going by, sorry. Okay, so how do we transition this from callbacks to promises? Well, the first thing to know is that the invocation and the function will change. Remember how I said there's two sides to asynchronicity? There's the definition of the function, and there's the function invocation. And they both, if you're using callbacks, they both have callbacks. If you're using promises, they both use promise syntax. So we have to change both. So first, let's change what the invocation will look like. Okay? The invocation, we're going to take out this function, take out the semicolon, and do dot, then. And inside the parentheses, we're going to put that function that we wanted, that expects the data. Okay? So that's how we change the invocation. This is what this looks like. Now, notice there's a visual difference here, which is in the callback case, we have to kind of indent it, and it's kind of hard to tell what's happening. In this case, then is obviously very intuitive to pluck first line from file, then once that's done, do this other thing. So I think it's a lot cleaner, a lot more intuitive, especially when you have to start stacking up, when you have to start chaining asynchronous calls. So that's how the invocation will change. Hopefully you got that. But how will the function definition change? Well, the first thing is, notice this isn't being invoked with a callback. So there's no callback at all. So let's delete that. And so we're not going to invoke that callback. Okay, so what's going to happen? What are we going to do with this data? Well, we're going to take this whole inner body of the function, and we're going to wrap it in something. We're going to go return new promise. Promise takes a function as its argument. We put this inside the function. And this will take resolve and reject. Okay. Now, instead of invoking a callback when we succeed and have our data, we actually just invoke resolve. And if there's an error, we can also invoke reject. That's what that's for. So we say if error, reject with an error. And we can even put we'll say else resolve data. Okay. So let's see if this works. That's how you transition it. Now, if you weren't able to do that successfully, you're going to need to look at this code and do it yourself, and then test it out. This is the first line of text. Let's try one more time and make sure. This is the first line of text. Okay, so that is how you transition the syntax from callbacks to promises. Now, it's key here that you do this work yourself. You play around with this example. It's crucial because promises can't be understood just by watching a video. You have to do the exercise. This is a very beginner exercise to help you transition, but there's also a repo, an HolaCode repo, that has a ton of different examples in callbacks and promises. Do that work. Right? It'll help you so much when you start to implement more asynchronous work in your web development, which you're going to be doing a lot as a web developer. Okay? So again, this is a very easy example. Go through it, follow exactly what I did, follow along, test it for yourself, play with it, fiddle with it, and then do that repo to really ingrain that information. Okay? And Slack any of your tech mentors if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.